I've been working on a keto bread recipe for you for a year, maybe a little longer. I've tested it out, toasting it, making Reuben sandwiches out of it, making peanut butter and jelly out of it. Now this is not a white sandwich bread, this is like an artisan loaf of bread. So you don't have to worry about it having the consistency of a memory foam mattress. I love my memory foam mattress, but I don't want to think about it when I'm trying to eat a piece of that tough keto bread. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The other thing I didn't want to do is have you have to go out and buy all kind of powders and potions and all kind of crazy ingredients. I wanted to make a bread with ingredients you can find right in the grocery store. So if you've been waiting for a keto bread that you would absolutely love, the wait is over. Stick around. So this keto bread recipe that I've come up with is unlike any other keto bread that I have tried or made. I want it to be able to make a good grilled cheese sandwich, French toast, or anything else you would make with regular bread. I also didn't want you to have to go out and buy ground up unicorn horns or Care Bear fur fiber or anything crazy like that. I wanted you to be able to go to the grocery store and get all the ingredients, and oh yeah, if it didn't make a good mater sandwich, it wasn't gonna happen. So let's get in the kitchen and bake an artisan loaf of bread that you're absolutely gonna love, and your non-keto folks are gonna love it too. The first thing you're gonna need for this keto bread recipe is 1 dozen of your favorite eggs. My favorite are these cage-free brown eggs that I find at Aldi. The next thing you're gonna need is some sour cream, which also I found at Aldi, but you're gonna need a 1/4 cup of that. And if you can't find sour cream or you don't have access to it, you could use a 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt instead. The next thing we're gonna need, and bear with me now, is some pork rinds. Yep, pork rinds. You're gonna need 4 of these 2.25 ounce containers, which end up crushing up to 4 cups of pork rinds, however you wanna figure it out. Then you're gonna need some cream cheese. Make sure it's softened. You're gonna need 8 ounces of it. The next thing you'll need is butter. And whether you're gonna use 1 stick or 2 sticks of butter, depending on what you're gonna use this bread for and how you wanna use it. You're gonna need a tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice. You can add a little more if you want to, just however much you can get out of about a half. The next thing you'll need is psyllium husk fiber. Now you can find this in your grocery store. It may be with the Metamucil, just make sure you get the unflavored kind. I'll put a link in the description in case you can't find it. You'll need baking soda, and you don't need 13.5 pounds of it. You're only gonna need a 1/2 teaspoon of that. You'll need a tablespoon of baking powder. That's very, very important. Don't leave that out unless you want a big pancake instead of a loaf of bread. Then you're gonna need some salt. You'll need a 1/2 teaspoon of Redmond's or pink Himalayan salt. Just make sure you get a salt with the minerals in it, you know, because that stuff's good for you. Then you're gonna need some cream of tartar. This is gonna help it rise. You're gonna need a 1/2 teaspoon of that. I'm gonna add 2 sticks of butter into this loaf of bread. You'll be able to toast it for Reuben's or French toast without adding butter to it. If you don't want that moisture level and you want it a little bit drier, only use 1 stick of butter. Now I like to melt my butter in the microwave. You can do it however you want, but if you put it in the microwave for about 20 seconds at a time, it's gonna let you know because it'll pop a couple times, letting you know it's melted and you're good to go. We're gonna take a regular bread pan and I'm gonna line it with parchment paper. I just ball up my parchment paper and stick it right in there, trying to get it all around the edges as best I can. If you got another method and you like to fold it up like origami and get your corners all right and make this something of modern architecture, hey, have at it. I just like to throw it in here like this and get it as good as I can, and it's gonna make a fine bread just like this. Just don't cut anything off yet. I'll show you why in just a little bit. But this is how my ugly parchment papering looks when it's done. And hey, as you're gonna see in a minute, it's gonna look just fine. Now I'll go ahead, because I forgot to do it before, I'm gonna go ahead and preheat that oven to 350 degrees. Now I'm just gonna measure out these pork breadcrumbs, and if you don't know a good way to make them, I'll leave a link right up there or down in the description so you can see how I make them the easiest way that I've found. And people have told me that I need to use this measuring cup instead of using the liquid measuring container, so I figure on this video, I'm just gonna try it out and see if they know what they're talking about. And you know what I found out? There wasn't enough of a difference to amount to anything. So from now on, I'm gonna use my liquid measuring one. I'm going to fill it up. I'm going to put 4 cups in there, and you can do it the hard way if you want to, but I'm just telling you, it don't make a difference either way you want to do it. That's what 1 cup looks like, so I figured I'd keep going and just see if it continues the same trend, and you know what? It sure did. So that's what 3 cups looks like. I mean, that's close enough to me. So then I tried it with the other cup I got to put in, and you know what? I'm done with science experiments. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. I'm not building an airplane here. The next thing I'm going to do is just take my lemon. I'm going to give it a nice chop. And if your skills as a ninja aren't quite there yet, hey, you can practice. You got nothing but time. I'm just going to juice this lemon just so that I can measure out my teaspoon of lemon juice that I'm going to put in there. It's going to work with all my other ingredients in there to help it rise, and it's going to make it proper. It works absolutely great, catches all the seeds, and it's easy to pour out of, which I absolutely love. Now you're going to need to take your favorite yellow mixing bowl, and hey, as you know, if you don't have a yellow mixing bowl, it just ain't going to taste as good. I'm just going to go ahead and crack all the eggs, put them in here to start with. And if you get a little piece of shell in there, no problem. Just take another shell. It acts like a magnet. Stick it in there and it'll pull it right out for you. Now that all the eggs are in the pool, we're just going to beat them up real good. Make sure you get them nice and fully incorporated together before we move on to the next step. So I'm going to take this butter, and it does not need to be smoking hot because you don't want to scramble these eggs, but just make sure that it's melted and a good temperature, but not smoking hot. We'll add that little bit of lemon juice in there, and then we'll go in with that melted butter. You know what? We're well underway. The next thing you're going to want to do is dump in your 8 ounces of cream cheese, and then you can go ahead and put in your sour cream as well. Just get all that stuff in there. And hey, if you want to work some arm muscles real good, try to whisk that all up with a hand whisk. I think I'm going to get out my hand mixers and go to town, as they say. We're going to start mixing that up real good. Once all the lumps and bumps are out of it, it's nice and smooth, it's time to move on to our dry ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with the psyllium husk powder, the baking powder, the baking soda, the cream of tartar, and the salt. Then we'll go ahead and mix all these together real good, get them well combined before we go on to the next step. And once it looks like this, we'll go ahead and dump in all 4 cups of the pork rinds. Then mix it together again. Try to get it as well incorporated as you possibly can. And we'll move on to the next step. And now just very slowly, a little bit at a time, put that pork rind mixture into the wet. Just give it a nice stir. It's going to start absorbing a lot of that liquid. Just do a little bit at a time. Don't worry, it's going to all come together. And when you got to switch over to a little more heavy-duty kitchen tool, you know it's ready. So the next thing you got to do is just take all that beautiful bread dough and put it right in that parchment paper lined bread pan. You don't need to spray it or anything, but you can if you want to. Hey, it's your kitchen. Do what you want. In my kitchen, I ain't doing it. I'm putting it right in the parchment paper, and hey, it seemed to come out fine. Now listen, you don't want to go beating this stuff up or anything, but you do need to smooth out the top just a little bit with a spatula or a wooden spoon, a knife, whatever your favorite implement of destruction is. You just need to use it Don't press it down or anything. Let it stay kind of light and fluffy, and just smooth out the top. Smooth out the top. If you love keto recipes of all kinds, make sure you subscribe right down there. Hit the bell beside it and hit all notifications, and anytime I do a new video, you'll know about it. Now that you got all that bread dough in there proper, it's time to do a little bit of trimming work. I wanted to wait until this point to do it because you're going to use this as little handles to pull this out once it cools down just a little bit in that bread pan. So just cut around it just like this. Leave you a little bit of room so you'll be able to easily pull it out a little bit later. And now that we got this trimmed up lean and mean, it's time for this bread's little ride to the oven. Now this is kind of a labor of love thing, but we're going to start out by putting it in the oven for 50 minutes. Now we'll check this and I'll show you how to do that in just a little bit. But let's just start it out, middle rack in your oven, close it up, get it proper. Let's go in for 50 minutes to begin with. Now I wish I could tell you there was an exact certain amount of time that this would cook for and you'd know exactly when it was ready, but that is just not the case. Everybody's oven's different. People are at different altitudes. So the thing to do is just stick it down on the counter and stick a skewer, toothpick, whatever you got in there. Now, it's gonna come out clean, but what you wanna check for is moisture. If there's still moisture on there, you need to put it back in for another 10 minutes or so and then check it and see how it is after that. So since the moisture level on mine was really good, I decided just to let it stay in there for the 10 minutes, and then I gotta prop my oven door open. So I used a cannoli mold. If you watch my cannoli video, you know about those, but mine's not quite as fancy as some people's. It doesn't stay open on its own, so I had to prop it open. I'll leave it in there for 30 minutes just to get right. After 30 minutes, I took it out, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to let it cool for about 10 minutes, and then I'll take it right out of the bread pan and put it on a cooling rack to finish cooling. I'm going to let this thing cool completely before I try to cut it. Now after a couple minutes, you can peel down that parchment paper if you want to. Just let it sit there for a few minutes and get proper. But you don't have to. You can leave it in there. I just decided to do it, and then after it's completely cool, I'm going to take it off that cooling rack and put it on my board to get cut up like a proper rustic loaf should. And this is what it looks like. Does that look like some foam to you? I mean, look at how this cuts. Just like a nice artisan bread. It is absolutely perfect. Now let's try it in the toaster. I would say do this at your own discretion if you use the 2 sticks of butter instead of 1, because it's going to be bubbling and popping in there. So a toaster oven is going to be a better bet. Oh, so you're telling me you want to make a grilled cheese? Now that right there is a grilled cheese. And this is how it pulls apart when you do something like, hey, like a jelly sandwich. It works great with Reubens, and if you use the 2 sticks of butter, don't put any butter on the outside, just put it right in the pan like that when you make your Reuben. Now you can store this in a bread container like this one. I'll put the link to it down below. Just make sure you keep it in the fridge because it's got eggs in it and it's got butter in it. Now real quick, let me just show you how to make the perfect tomato sandwich. I mean, first of all, you gotta have a tomato that's about that big. It's gotta be huge, hand size for a proper tomato sandwich. Then take some of that great bread that we just made, take your bow knife and cut it just like this to the pieces and the thickness that you want. Now you got to chop up that tomato proper. You want at least 1/4 inch slices. You might want a little bit bigger. Just depends on how crazy with it you want to get. You're going to need at least 4 good slices. Hey, you might want to do 5. You might even not want to even make the bread and just eat the tomatoes all by themselves with my Duke's mayonnaise. I mean, look how good those look. Those are absolutely awesome. Then take some of my Duke's mayonnaise, and I will put a link to that up there. If you haven't made it, you need to. Just slather that on there as much or as little as you like. I feel like if you're going to put it on there, ain't nothing to it but to do it. Throw it on there heavy. Then start layering on them maters. And then salt them, then pepper them. Then another mater. Oh yeah. Salt them, and then pepper them. Oh, now we're getting crazy. One more piece, and then some pepper, and then some salt. Hey, you got to switch it up a little bit. Can't be doing the same thing all the time. And then one more piece, pepper again, and then the salt. Then just put that top of the bread right on that mater sandwich, and that is a proper tomato sandwich. I mean, will you look at that thing? What you talking about, Willis? That thing is absolutely awesome. That is a proper tomato sandwich, but none of that would be possible without this delicious keto bread. I hope you enjoy this. Let me know when you make it, and tell me what you're going to put on it down in the comments below. The sky truly is the limit with this bread. Now that you can have bread, you need something to go with it, right? Well, check this video out right here that I think you'll enjoy. I'll also put one right down there that YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy, so let me know if you do. Now you can have your bread and eat it too. Thanks so much for watching. See ya on the next video.